Hey everybody, welcome to Surface Level, a show that takes a look at society's expectations and rejects the ones we don't see it for, all from the perspective of three Black queer best friends. I'm one of your hosts, Jordan, and today, Tony, Damon, and I are looking back on our third season and answering questions courtesy of you, the listeners. This is Beyond the Surface Level 3. All right.
Yes, we made it.
Third season.
We made it. We made it.
And, you know, this is the third Beyond the Surface Level. So before we get into the questions, I sort of want to revisit episode 1 of this season, where we kicked it off and we asked, what do we want to accomplish in 2021? And since we're officially in the second half of 2021,
Can't believe it.
I want to do a little check-in.
Oh, yeah, that's sad.
It's flying by.
It's really flying by. So, Damon,
Yep.
you said, I don't want to be bored and I want to continue to grow and stretch myself. So, New York is open right now. Are you bored and are you getting stretched?
Oh, my God. That's disgusting.
Oh, girl.
I'm not bored.
Clearly, you've been getting stretched.
Is this how we're starting the show?
This is how we starting, baby.
Oh, my. Y'all are gross. But no, I feel like I've been exploring new things. We've spent a lot of time in Brooklyn this year, running around,
Getting stretched.
seeing the sights.
I love Brooklyn. I've been in Brooklyn a lot.
I know.
This summer.
I was with you. That's what I was talking about. I don't know what you're talking
Oh,
about.
okay.
You doing stretching? You going to a lot of yoga? Tony's
Yeah.
been in yoga. And that's been exciting. And I think that, like, I'm thinking, toying with some new ideas about things that I want to expand on professionally outside of just my day-to-day. And this season was a stretch show, 15 episodes instead of 10.
It was a
It's
stretch.
been going on and on and on. It's still
I'm
not
living
over.
for it. I'm living for it. The content is rolling out. It's giving a season of Housewives of Atlanta in the height
A
of
mega season?
a mega season.
26 episodes. All right. Well, now that you're talking, Tony, you said that you want to balance your adult responsibilities while still having a clatchet lifestyle. So how's that classy
Yes.
and ratchet lifestyle going for you?
No class.
So I think that it's happening. Like, I'm balancing work, and now that outdoors is open, I have a brand new life, brand new lease on life.
Let's call it that.
And it's been a lot of fun and just very liberating. So yeah, and the clatchet moment is, I think I'm succeeding on that. I'm meeting my promise, making my promise on that or whatever. So yeah,
Exceeding goals.
I'm exceeding.
Oh, chill.
Exceeds goals.
All right. So, and I said that I want to grow the podcast platform and continue making an impact on listeners. So, you know, I'm all about the analytics. So I have some
Have
numbers.
you done that?
We have. So here are the numbers and here is the data.
Ooh.
So since April 7th, 2021, we have increased our downloads this season by nearly 120% compared to last season.
Wow.
So
That's a lot.
people are definitely listening a lot more
I don't know why. I don't want to hear what I get to say.
versus last season. The second thing is that we've grown our listener base outside of North America. And these are the top 5 countries that we're reaching right now.
Global.
Ghana, number 1.
Oh.
Germany, followed by the UK, then Mexico, and number 5 is Trinidad and Tobago.
Well, yeah, I know how much I've been wanting to go to Germany. So
We go to Germany. So we go to Berlin.
Well, shout out to all the surface level listeners from across the seas.
around the world.
Thank you for listening. And then finally, I mean, this is fairly recent, our first digital feature in a major publication.
Yes.
So-
Oh my goodness.
So the Washington Post.
I'm still on a high from that.
I mean, that was
cool.
an amazing surprise. I was not expecting it to be a full feature.
Yeah. The story was about us.
Yeah, so that was very happy. I talked to my mom about it. She was
Yeah.
very excited.
I got to send my mama something.
She was like, "Send me the newspaper." I said, "Girl, it's on .com."
My mother was like, she's like, maybe I'll see it when, in a couple weeks, the internet is slow out there. But she
Child,
finally saw the post on Facebook, and my mom's on Instagram, but so she commented on my my post.
Yeah.
But yeah, really excited. Now, what was funny, I sent it to my Aunt Crystal, who she comes back up on the show every time, and she actually thought it was fake news. So she didn't open it. She didn't say anything until like a day or so after. And she was like, when I first saw this, I thought it was fake news, but congratulations. So maybe she thought we were really good at Photoshop and just
Crystal.
and did that ourselves. But okay, so let's get into the beyond the surface level. So we've kind of broken it out in segments this go around, and this first segment, which is going to be a lot of fun, is about relationships, love, and sex, which covers a few of the episodes that we've had over the season. And I want to start with just a little icebreaker, a little bit of a game, and it's a couple loaded questions. So,
Okay.
what's an instant mood killer for you guys when it comes to setting the mood? What would like instantly be like, oh no, I gotta go?
Someone smells bad.
Bad BO?
Or if your home is, well, actually, no, I don't travel. So yeah, just if someone smells bad.
Okay.
What's an instant mood killer?
Yeah, what would like go from setting the mood to like, we gotta stop?
Oh goodness. A catfish?
I was like, I know what yours is, and that's what I was thinking.
Or somebody who sent old photos and they, they've
Okay.
evolved.
and they've evolved. Or it's just not them.
Right.
So I think for me, an instant mood killer is bad breath.
Yeah.
I'm like, ooh, and I want to kiss. No, we can't do that.
Oh gosh.
Now, I'm going to brush your teeth and we can start again.
You go back to your home and start that.
what would be what's an instant turn on?
Smelling
Damon.
good.
Smelling good? The bare minimum.
I like for you to smell like you just walked out of a shower.
Yeah. So
That makes me happy.
you have them shower first and then come into the
Absolutely.
bedroom. Yeah. Yeah.
Yes.
Yes. Jordan.
Someone like setting the mood, like a candle, music, offering me like something to drink. Someone who's just like very attentive.
Yeah.
And like actually making me like feel like this is more than,
Right.
a moment.
So
It's a moment.
a moment. I think for me, an instant turn on is good credit.
You asking them that at the door?
Yeah. What's your credit score? And do you steal? So what would you not want to find in your partner's bedside drawer? Damon. What would you not want to see in there?
Astro Clyde.
Oh my God.
Oh my goodness.
What about you, Jordan?
I don't know. What do people put in their side drawer?
What's something you wouldn't want to see in there? It could be anything.
I mean, I don't know. Counterfeit money? I don't know.
Counterfeit money. I think for me,
know.
maybe I don't know, Rush, those cheap poppers. I wouldn't want to see that. This one's a little salacious. What's a secret
More
kink?
than the last one?
What's a secret kink you have?
A secret one that I have.
Yeah.
I don't think I have many secrets. What have I not talked about that I
What's a
like?
kink that you have then? Let it out. I'll go. For me, I think a secret kink of mine is feet. Like I've over time, I'm like, oh, like nice feet are very sexy. And I know how you feel about feet, Damon. You hate it.
I don't enjoy them. For me. But like someone can
you.
enjoy my feet.
Someone can enjoy your feet. Ooh,
Does that
we
count
love
as that
that.
kink?
We love that. Yeah,
Sure, let's go with that.
you can go with that. Jordan.
I mean, we've talked about it before. A light,
a
light
tug
tug of the
Press on
neck.
the neck.
We love that.
Yeah.
Okay, I want you guys to say one or two words that come to mind really quickly. This is rapid fire. When I say the following word, you just say something. Top.
Bottom.
First.
Scarce. Bottom.
Feeder.
Oh my gosh.
What?
Bottom feeder.
I mean, I don't know.
Bottom. Harlem. Full of them.
Plentiful. Verse.
Me.
Top.
Me. Orgy.
Those freak me out.
People.
I haven't done many of them.
Oh.
Relationship.
Well, how was the best? Never mind. We'll talk about that at the Beyond the Surface.
Relationship.
Year. Maybe.
Love.
Would love to see it. And lastly, summer
Party.
Hot.
is mine. All right. So I want to start by asking you guys about your current dating status. You know, where are we? Are we dating? Are we single? Are we just
know, Tony. Where
doing
are
it
we?
up? Well,
Last season we were married. Did we get divorced?
last season we were married. We're not quite divorced, but I think it's an open marriage. But for me, I'm currently open to dating. I'm not actively dating anyone. And with outside being open now, I've found that there are a lot of suitors now that I'm able to engage with. It's like
open.
really nice to go out and meet someone and get numbers and like, you know, maybe use the number, maybe not. But that's happening.
Yeah.
What about you?
Outside is open, and so is your domicile.
My domicile is open for business.
For me, I would call myself single but involved.
Oh, how does that work?
You know, it works the way that we were describing on that episode where I was talking about how I have my living room full of men and my person would be fine with it.
Yeah.
It was funny because the person that I'm involved with was like, I'm shocked you didn't just say you live that life now, where you're involved with someone, but there are no rules, there are no things holding either of us back from things. We just exist.
I mean, I enjoy that. You write your own contract, you know?
Yeah.
And the fine print is very, very fine. What about you, Jordan? Dating life.
Single and satisfied.
Oh. Does that mean you're having sex?
Not nearly as much as one would think.
Okay.
But, you know, I'm more so deprioritizing dating at the moment. I am currently going on dates with one person, but it's more of a friendly thing at the moment.
I like when it starts like with as a friendly thing
Yeah.
and evolves. That's always the best in my opinion.
I think so too.
So, was there any one moment during the season, you know, recording of this season that impacted the way that you approach romantic situations?
I think in before he cheats, we were talking about red flags and recognizing red flags, and I feel like through that conversation, I've just become not hypersensitive, but just more alert to red flags, and also just sort of nipping them in the bud and just letting people know like this isn't going to work. And red flags doesn't have to mean like the person's a terrible person. It just means that like I'm recognizing what's compatible with me earlier on. And it's sort of that conversation sort of like made me more aware of those moments and believing those moments, because I would see the red flags, but I wouldn't believe them.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. I think when we were talking about Kiss with a Fist, I really had to evaluate how I viewed conflict in relationships and how I want to approach it. Just like for me with dating someone, when we are disagreeable, what does that look like? Like I don't want to be in a place in my life again, just purely even speaking for me, where I feel like I'm treating you so poorly in an argument that it's like, do we know each other? Like if I have to treat you that poorly and talk to you that crazy, then what are we doing?
Yeah.
So like reevaluating how we approach conflict was something that's really important to me.
Yeah, I think those two episodes stand out for me as, you know, moments that impacted how I approach romantic situations. And it's a delicate thing, you know, like starting to engage with someone and break down those barriers and let someone in. You know, trust is a big deal.
Yeah.
And so it's really a challenge and a struggle to let someone brand new in. But I'm trying to have fun with that and just be open-minded to that moment and realize that you might get burned. That might happen. Like that's a real thing that could happen. But also on the flip side of that, I might have a really dope experience with getting to know someone and could be, you know, something cute and fruitful. So that's where I stand on it. But how has having this platform and the visibility with this platform impacted how much sex you're having. And this came from one of our listeners who actually referred to it as, like he said, as the podcast rises to fame. You said something about who's taking advantage of the groupie love.
Yeah.
So, Jordan.
I mean, I'm not having a lot of sex right now, so I'm not taking advantage of anything. Also, no one's really like hitting me up I mean, I'm meeting a lot of new friends, but I'm not taking advantage of like sex at the moment.
I would say I've noticed, like, when going out to places like Trappy Hour or just a bar like Lambda or any situation where there's an abundance of Black gay men, that people are approaching us, me,
You.
and saying, you know,
We are not a group.
they've listened to the podcast, they love the podcast. It's opened up.
And they would like to give you some cat.
It's opened up. It's opened up windows of opportunity.
Is that what we're calling it?
It's opened up a lot of windows of opportunity.
Okay.
She stretched the window
And
open.
you know, as someone who's been like single for a while and not really dating, I'm like, I welcome that. I'm like, okay, this is cute. Like, yes, yes.
Your year of
My year of yes. And it's fun to have your pick. So, Damon, what about you?
Anybody talking to me?
Oh, okay.
And that can continue.
I think that's a lie. I've seen people talking to you.
It got nothing to do with this podcast.
Oh, yeah. Well, no, but I mean, I think it does.
No,
It's just you.
it's just me, baby.
Just space.
Get into the skin.
Get it to that mug, baby. All right. Let's see. I think I want to ask one more question. So, do you think the negative experiences that you had in past relationships create a barrier for you to establish new relationships? Jordan.
No, I think that my experiences in past relationships helped me sort of be able to quickly identify, not quickly, but like identify where people belong in my life.
Okay.
I think that in the past, like in the recent past, I've had like attachment where I met somebody and I was attracted to them and they were showing me attention. So boom, here I am. Like, let's hang out all the time.
Yeah.
And what I'm realizing now is that like recognizing earlier, like I said before, what the red flags are, sometimes you realize that someone isn't really compatible romantically. Sometimes they're a better fit platonically. Sometimes I've even told people that I would actually prefer to just limit communication with them to social media as opposed to hanging out.
How did that go?
Huh?
How did that go?
It was fine. I said I don't want to
key.
force anything, and I was just like, we can continue like engaging on social media, and if an in-person thing makes sense, then we can hang out. And then there's been some people where I just realized I don't want them in my life at all.
Yeah.
So I just, whatever. So I think that having those experiences, whether they be negative or positive in past relationships, I feel like I'm just a little bit more discerning now with like the people that I'm letting into my life, and just sort of like, placing people in the right place where I feel like I can actually enjoy them the most.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I think that the negative experiences that I've had in the past do sit in the back of my mind sometime, and it's triggering when you notice behavior in someone that you've experienced with someone else in the past, or you're just like a little trepidatious about getting into something because you're a little jaded now that you've been like hurt or gone through a negative experience, and I'm trying not to let those things stop me from finding my king, and so I think I'm just trying to live in that growth mindset and try and grow from what I've learned in those negative experiences and not carry that burden and let it stop me from, flourishing.
Yeah.
Come on.
I spent like maybe a year after my last long relationship, like just purely stepping away from it, working on myself, like trying in as many ways as I could to heal from that situation, and also to understand me and what my triggers were, so that in instances where I am getting to know someone new, I can clearly communicate those things.
Yeah.
But one thing I actually, I guess maybe a different perspective. Like, I'm trying not to do the whole red flag thing with people, because I think that often when we think of red flags, they're based in like past trauma. And because the situation may be similar, I'm prescribing how that other individual acted to someone new. When I think that each person has a unique story, a unique background, something that needs to be evaluated purely for them. And that doesn't mean like if I was in an abusive relationship and somebody hit me again, I'm like, oh, this
right,
hit
because
is
I was
different.
getting ready to say, like, I agree, but there are some red flags that are like red flags.
Certain things where I'm just like, this is a non-starter for me.
Yeah.
But just thinking about like personality traits, and like if somebody feels similar to something that I didn't like in the last personality, not being like, oh yeah, let me friend zone you, bitch. Like, that's what I'm trying not to do, and just evaluating every person as their own.
Yeah, I'm still cackling at. I'm gonna just limit this communication to
social media.
Social media.
Why? I think that saves a lot of time. You know, like we don't
if
have
somebody
to.
ever told me that, I would block them like on site.
We're actually still cool, and our communication is on social media. We like each other's stories and stuff like that. That's where I want to keep it.
I think it works, but it's just funny to tell someone that.
I worded it right, you know.
Oh, okay, so it wasn't like.
Yeah, you know I'm a writer.
Yeah.
Well, now they gonna hear you saying what you really meant.
Yeah, what I really meant is that I wanted to limit communication to social media. They know.
Period.
It was clear to them.
It was clear. Y'all.
We were on the same page. So, was that your last question?
That's my last scene and my last season on that segment.
Okay, so I want to go into a slightly more heavy theme. We talk a lot about homophobia in different parts of our lives, whether it be church, family, friends. We talk about all of that. But before we get into that heavy discussion, I want to play a game with you. I think it would be fun because we play a lot of games on this show. But I think it would be fun.
We just play a lot of games.
I think it'd be really fun if the listeners could see us play a game that we would actually play at one of our game nights.
Okay.
So y'all know the music game.
Oh, yeah,
yes.
I'm putting y'all to the test. So for the listeners who don't know, we always play the music game whenever there's a game night. And essentially, I'm the judge.
Come judge me.
I'm the judge, and I am going to say a word. And let's just say they're on their own teams. Normally we would have teams, but it's just going to be Tony against Damon. If I say the word is fly, Tony has to sing a song with the word fly in it within 15 seconds. I'm going to give you guys 15 seconds. Okay?
All night,
This is a song that I will not sing.
And then, so if Tony is able to sing a song that has the word fly in it within 15 seconds that I recognize, so also you have to be perceptive, then Damon has 15 seconds to sing a song with the word fly in it. But he cannot sing a song that's already been sung in this round. Okay? So they know the rules, but I'm just making sure that you, who's listening, knows the rules.
Right.
Warm my instrument up.
All right. So let me get my timer out or whatever like that.
Yeah.
It's a timer on the screen.
Is that the word, though? Or are we doing, like, is it a different word you're going to give us?
Oh, no, it's not fly.
Okay, good.
That's difficult.
Ooh. I had Fly Like a Bird by Mariah Carey, but then I was like, I will not sing I Believe I Can Fly.
Oh, I have a bunch of songs in my head.
Please
You have
don't.
one in your head?
A bunch of songs in my head.
Oh.
Okay. So Tony is going first, and the word is baby.
Baby, 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 baby.
Okay, by Ashanti. Damon.
Hit me, baby, one more time.
Okay, Britney Spears. Tony.
Baby, baby, baby.
Justin Bieber. Okay.
Baby love, my baby love.
An old school group.
Supremes.
Yes.
Baby, it's you.
Okay, Beyonce.
Baby boy, you stay on my mind.
Okay, Beyonce. Tony.
Baby got back.
All right. Damon.
Baby, 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 baby. Don't
You know that you're so fun. Okay. Tony. Ooh.
Baby, I'm down and out.
You out?
I'm a
Lose.
bow out.
Okay. All right. So
Lose.
Damon took that one. We're gonna do the next round. So get you something to drink. Clear those vocal chambers. I don't know. What do you call it?
Cords.
There we go.
Clear your vocal chambers.
And Damon is gonna start. And the word is world.
Sitting on top of the world, top of the world.
Okay. Brandy.
Heal the world, make it a better place. Come on, y'all. For you and for me
The
and
mime.
the entire human race.
If this world were mine.
All right. Tony. Ooh.
She's terrible.
What words? What world? World. World.
And that's the game. So if you're ever at a game night with us, that's the game that we will be playing.
You want me on your team.
You obviously
Sure.
want Damon on the team. Tony can be the judge next time.
Yeah, I'll be the judge and the executioner.
All right. So I want to start off this this conversation with just doing a check-in. So how has being out with, you know, our queer experiences on this public platform, has that impacted your relationships or your dynamic with any heterosexual friends or family? Like, have you seen any changes? Damon?
I wouldn't say changes, but I will say like, it just opens up queer topics for like straight people to talk to you about.
True.
And people,
What do you mean?
Or like, it'll be like,
So that thing you do with your butt.
No. Wait a minute. Wrong show, baby. Wrong show. I don't even know. I can't think of like
You threw him off.
Well, I mean, I do. Yeah, there are straight men and straight women who are curious about the things that we're talking about, and they will approach us about the topics and like give their thoughts or ask questions because they're curious about certain things that they didn't know. I hear from people that they've learned a lot from listening to us talk about these things. Personally, I've had my uncle and my one of my cousins both tell me how proud they are of me, which is like, you know, my family's one of those that I don't know if it's tough love or that they just don't outwardly show
do
love.
a lot of hugging and kissing and crying.
And my cousin who's in the Navy sent me a text message that was just like, I'm so proud of what you're doing. I know that we have some distance between us now, but I just want you to know that I've always looked at you as a little brother. You know, and it was very endearing and kind of caught me off guard. And I was just like, I didn't cry, but I was like, this is really sweet.
So you're feeling affirmed by your family.
You know what else I just thought about though?
What?
We got to talk about some shit that my mama can listen to. Because I was only able to send my mama one episode this season. She tried to on her own. She tried to listen to that Party and Play episode.
Oh,
and she had to turn that off.
That's not the one for black mothers.
I was just like, I was like, Mom, there's a pastor coming on in a few weeks. You just wait for that.
Oh, I tell my mom to fast forward. I'm like, don't listen to the beginning. I mean, you don't need to know these details about your son. Or maybe you care. I don't know.
They secretly they're secret silent listeners that just are like,
They got to be fake outrage.
It'll come out one day when you just like randomly with them, and they'll be like, they'll bring it up,
right?
You know, so that's gonna be fun.
Yeah, no, I think that the biggest shift that I've seen has been with my family. I think that I never really brought up my like dating life or sexuality with family. Like it's just like a update, you know, like when I'm just going home, like, how's New York, Jordan? I'm like, you know, work. Friends, but now family members are proactively coming up to me and are asking me like, who are you dating? Like, when are you having kids? You know, the things that they ask the straight cousins. So I definitely feel like my family feels more comfortable initiating the conversations.
That's
I think
good.
because they feel like I'm more comfortable sharing that information.
That's good.
Because I think in the past I don't think that they were not bringing this up to spite me. I think they just didn't know how to go about the conversation and what was taboo and what wasn't.
Yeah.
So now that we're more open, I think that my family is more open.
Love that.
Yeah. So on a more serious topic, so we got a question from a listener, and they sent us a link to this article. And I'm not sure if you had a chance to see it, but there was a viral video of a young boy named Tyler living in Atlanta, and the video shows him with a shaved head with the words "gay" shaved into his head, and his siblings basically humiliating him and hitting him and reprimanding him for doing gay things, whatever that means. I don't think we have enough context to know exactly what.
Abusing him.
Yeah. And, it's one of those shame videos. And it's just really, really, really sad. And I think there was a follow-up video after that where Tyler, the young boy, in the video, he says he urges the public to not bully his siblings because of what they saw, and that they didn't mean any harm. They just didn't want him to do the wrong thing. But a lot of people believe that video was forced because someone heard someone in the background directing him basically. Right now he's no longer with the family. He's no longer in the home. He's with the Atlanta Division of Family and Children Services. As far as I know, that's the latest that I know of.
Yeah.
But the question that the listener had was, what advice would you give to queer people who exist in extremely homophobic environments and are dealing with shame and self-hate?
Yeah.
Whoever wants to start.
I would say run.
Oh,
I was thinking about.
that's what came to mind too.
We were watching. We think we've all seen it. Dominique Jackson's Defining Moments. There's like an Ozzy interview that she does, and she said, she's like basically through her life, she kept hearing this voice say to run.
Yeah.
And first, it was in her home country of Tobago, where she was sexually abused by like a religious leader in her community. And she was like, she ran to the States.
Yeah.
And then she couldn't be who she was with her family. So she was like, she ran to New York City to like be herself. And that to me was of something in a voice that I think people should listen to, because I think oftentimes we get so wrapped up in like, this is my family or these are the people around me.
Yeah.
And you end up receiving like all this abuse, and you're holding on to being around these people, but you aren't living.
Right.
Like you aren't living. On the flip side, the other thing that comes to mind is thinking about systems that are in place to support people who have to run to live. Just because, like, hopefully this young man find a family for him or someplace that cares for him, and he isn't just another black boy lost in a system. Because I wouldn't say that's, yes, being out of an abusive household, step one.
Yeah.
But it's also not favorable for him. I don't know. He was like 10. He's young for X amount of years to be stuck in some system that's not caring for him, that's not affirming him and helping him grow. But step one, you got to get out to live.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know why, but like Scar from The Lion King telling Simba to run and never return, like that came to mind. Because for me, I couldn't even watch the initial video. I didn't watch it.
Yeah.
I saw it and I like stopped. I didn't even see the full, moment, because it was too hard for me. And I also feel like it's an extreme situation, and I don't know how I would give advice on something that I've not experienced. So for me, I was like, what would I say? I don't know. But like when Damon said run, I was like, that's what I wanted to say, but I didn't know if that was like an appropriate thing to say, like, or be as advice.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was painful for everyone that actually watched the video, and all I could think was like I would pray for him, and I'm glad that he's out of the home, at least from what you know as the latest news. But hopefully he finds the help that he needs, because it's really sad.
Yeah, I think it was an extremely difficult video to watch. I like I don't have firsthand experience with that level of homophobia.
Yeah.
Like watching that push the limit for me, I think. And I was really thinking long and hard about what I would tell someone so young what to do, because it's difficult, right? Because you're not quite at that age where you can start fending for yourself. I think it's those developmental years where you really do need adults
Adults,
in
yeah.
your life. So I think that what I would probably tell him is to find one adult that you can trust. And I don't know how easy or difficult that might be. And it honestly, even if he had an adult that he probably trusted, it would probably be really, really difficult to build the courage to ask for help, because then you're admitting that you need protecting from something.
Yeah.
And to Damon's point, I think it's really hard for someone, especially that young, to feel like they're betraying their family, right? Because I think that oftentimes at that young of an age, you sort of conflate care, which is like someone feeding you or giving you clothes to wear, with love,
Right.
which is understanding you and appreciating who you are as a person and your differences. And so I would say find an adult and try to open up to that adult and seek help from that adult. But also, a word of encouragement is that honestly, this is the absolute worst. And that if you're able to survive this, you can survive anything. And he has to be incredibly strong to experience that and to keep going.
Yeah, I mean, he by the looks of that like follow up video where he was giving very much of like owning the moment with the gay, etched in his head, and it was I was like, he seems like a very strong little black boy.
He has to be. Like,
So, and I think that people that go through things like that, they're built in a different way to be able to like get through on the other side. So,
right. And I think that on that note of sort of being built a different way, basically being conditioned to be a different way, and he has to have this survival tactic of adopting his surroundings outlook on gayness as bad.
Right.
I want to sort of revisit a topic that we discussed around men who enter relationships with women knowing that they're not romantically interested in the female gender.
Time for a drink.
So, so in this type of situation where presenting as heterosexual is a survival tactic, does that at all change? And I'm more so talking to Tony and myself, but like, does that change our thoughts towards compassion towards gay men who may adopt that tactic to be able to exist and survive in their environment?
This is a really tough thing to unpack, because while I can have compassion and understand why it's happening, why a guy might, do that.
Yeah.
I still, on the flip side of it, feel like it's bringing someone else into the picture unnecessarily. But it's also it's hard. I don't know, because I go back and forth where it's a survival tactic, but also it's bringing someone else in, and it's a fucked up situation for them. So it's just fucked up all around.
It really is.
And I'm just like, it's like really a catch-22. And I don't know if I have a hard and fast opinion on, yes, this is okay, or no, it's not, because it's just so nuanced and layered that the answer to that is not that simple.
Yeah.
So,
Damon?
I feel the same way I felt in that episode. And I don't think his circumstances warrant a different approach and a different level of compassion. I think that the world has been built and systems have been built in a way that makes so many queer men hate themselves. And sometimes it looks like abuse from family. And sometimes, like in my instance, it looked like growing up in a church where like it drove me to the point where I thought that I would have to marry a woman. I would have to date women. I would have to have kids. And I became suicidal. And I think that just because it didn't look like my siblings shaving something into my head, I think that we still need to place value on how the world has created so much internal hate for ourselves and for other queer men.
Yeah.
And I think too, on the topic of like people, what happens around the people with people that are involved, I think we should also give the women that exist in our lives or in certain scenarios, whatever it may be, more credit for being understanding human beings. I think that, and I said this on the episode, No Face, No Case, where I think that relationships end for a myriad of reasons. From your partner happened to be queer and either didn't know it or was afraid to share that.
Right.
Your partner may have been abusive. Y'all just don't like each other. Whatever scenario it is, and I think that relationships end. And I don't think that it automatically means that the woman that experienced that now hates the person that was involved.
Right.
Like we do this platform now, and there are ex-girlfriends I've had who support this surface level.
Yeah.
And they aren't just people that feel like, oh, he
Right, but
they fangled me into some bullshit some years ago, and I hate him and all these things. It's just like they can listen to this, they can see the things we talk about and understand, yo, this didn't work out because he was going through this thing. And I can see them for who they are as a person and whatever decisions they may or may not make that are or are not positive. I think we're all human. I think it happens.
I wish that there was more light shed on the positive stories, because all you hear by far and large are the negative stories where women have been in a situation like this, where they've been with a man who is actually not heterosexual, and all you hear is the bashing and all like the trauma that they go through. And I don't hear a lot of stories like the ones that you're saying. I do hear some, but I think that's what needs to be brought to light.
But
more,
that's the whole
so
problem.
that people can change their
like the whole idea is that the DL monster person was this idea that was perpetuated out of the AIDS crisis. We know that. We've talked about that, and I think that's why so much attention is paid to the negative part of it, because half of it's it's fucking bullshit anyway. Like even just like I'm in the gay men's course in New York, and there are a lot of older men. I met a guy who's 50 something who had got divorced a few years ago and now had kids, is now out, still has a great relationship with his kids. The woman who he had children with and was married to. I think that life is complicated, and it's not just like the first time you get a hard on and you realize that it's for a guy, like that it's just that easy. And I think that I've said it continuously that I don't think we should oversimplify the process of coming out for anyone, no matter how visibly traumatic we can see their experience being, or people that we think aren't going through something and they're just like playing in people's face, because those people could have the exact same experience as this boy, and we just didn't see it.
Right. That's why I think it's so layered. It's a nuanced moment. And it's really hard to just give a hard and fast answer to. Like, you can't.
I mean, I'm still very anti going, like, premeditatedly going into a situation that you know is a show.
Yeah.
But what I would
people
say,
are too, though.
but what I would say is that if I could give advice on or a workaround that may work, is that maybe consider opening up to a woman and letting her know at the onset. You'd be surprised how many women, especially close women that actually love you, would be willing to help protect you and give you a level of protection. And the reason why I say this is because when we recorded No Face, No Case, I talked about how I, in my younger years, dated a woman so that I could be perceived as straight. And I really regretted that moment. And I felt like that was a really poor lapse in judgment on my behalf. And you know,
But
I
it's
wasn't.
also, you realize that's also because of the trauma that you faced.
Yeah.
Right. So
Yeah.
it wasn't right. It was a lapse in judgment, absolutely, but based and rooted in the
Right.
trauma that you
Yeah.
experienced.
Yeah. No, I think we're all agreeing on
Right.
that.
But that was my issue in that conversation because y'all kept saying like the behavior's piss poor and I'm just like,
Well,
when you talk, but like think about this framing. You're like, when we as queer people who are out, like luckily we've come into ourselves. We live in a place where we feel affirmed. We've surrounded ourselves with circles that affirm us. And then for us to be people looking at others in their situation and calling their actions piss poor without knowing the context behind all the things that are happening with them, I think that's not okay for us to do. And I think that's why that conversation got so heated, because it felt flippant to the experiences that people are having that we may or may not know all the full details to.
right. And even still, with or without knowing the full details, there's still a level of me that is still in that same boat with Jordan, where I don't like the premeditative moment. But I do now, after having that conversation, realize that it's so layered and with trauma and how the world is set up for Black queer men, that this is why things happen.
But I also want to use this platform to shed light on the fact that there are options. That's not your only choice. And I think that that's the point of the conversation, is to say, you do have a say in this. You know what I mean? It's not like you were backed into a corner. There are options. So while I understand the factors that are at play that inform those type of decisions, I've made those type of decisions and I'm aware of some of those factors. I also want to be responsible in this platform and challenge people to explore what those options are and not just the easiest one that's in front of you.
I don't think getting into a relationship with someone who you may potentially not be attracted to is the easy option. Like I think that we have to be very specific.
I don't think that's an easy thing.
Very
Yeah.
specific
I
in the wording
kinda
we
agree
use
with
here.
that.
Like I don't think we can say like, oh, they just took the easy way out. Somebody could be fucking miserable for years. Not like, think about what I just told y'all about what I thought I was going to have to live.
Yeah, that's
and,
what
like, being suicidal
the
at a young
context
age.
matters.
And then if I had gotten in that relationship and then to hear somebody say, well, you took the easy way out, that's not, I don't think that's okay.
I think without having the full context, it's impossible to really dissect why someone made the decision they made.
And it's not a one answer fits all, but what I want to do is make sure that we're talking about all of it. And I feel like we are talking about like different angles of it. And I want to make sure that, yes, we do have that perspective of having compassion for people who are going through the trauma, but we also have the perspective of saying, hey, like maybe look at these options if you're going through that as an alternative.
Yeah. Both, I think they're not mutually exclusive. Like both can happen, right?
Mm-hmm.
So,
all right. And to end on a more positive note, what moment in media has made you proud of the progress that queer expression and representation is making in this country?
The girls carrying on BET, child.
yeah, that's like the obvious moment right now, but the
it's like
biggest moment,
But
right?
like not even
that's
just
happening.
Yeah.
our little sis, Lil Nas, but just like Lena Waithe having this show that's
Yeah.
led by a Black queer woman that has an after show hosted by B. Scott, who got kicked off BET some years
Right.
ago
And it's back.
because they were like, oh, you can't wear feminine clothing on the red carpet, and
Oh my
now it's
goodness.
back.
Yeah.
So like
that was recent too. That's not too far in the past.
the girls are carrying on the Black entertainment.
Right.
love that.
You got
television.
Queen Latifah shouting out
Her partner.
her partner, shouting out Pride.
And that was a first for her,
Yeah,
right?
she
Being
had-
like more explicit about,
You also
her
had,
lifestyle. Yeah.
which I think I read, I don't know how true this is, but with MJ Rodriguez being the first trans woman or trans person to come on stage at the BET Awards and like present
You
something.
never invite Laverne?
I don't know.
I feel like Laverne. Well, no, I think Laverne was at something else.
I
Black
don't
Girls
know.
Rock or something like that.
Yeah, because I read something. I was like, wow, like really? That was the first time.
Mother pumped out there, spinning with that 40-inch bone straight
to
wig.
her song.
Hello?
Okay.
Yeah.
So that was a moment, and obviously Lil Nas X kissing, another guy on BET on the biggest night of
Right.
Black entertainment and Black culture, where you have, your grandmother's watching this show, because everyone tunes into the BET
Right.
Awards. They have that gospel section. They got a little something for everybody.
Right.
And so Mima was watching the show, and
Now she had a heart attack.
and you know what? That probably started so many conversations.
Oh, absolutely.
So many conversations. I can't even begin to imagine the debates that went on after that kiss. And then people have talked about like how Madonna did it with Britney Spears and Christina Aguilera on the MTV Awards. Like that was glorified, I think.
Right.
Yeah.
And so I'm really I love what Lil Nas X is doing with his platform. It makes me so happy.
Yeah, I think it's very courageous for him, because I think that in the past, when gay men were giving a huge platform to sort of express themselves, I feel like it's always kind of confined and it's always kind of watered down. You don't truly get like the gay experience that you feel like they may have they're living in their real life. So like, I love the fact that he was like, not only went for the kiss, but like the choreography was like sassy, like the costume, like it was the whole thing. And it made me so happy, because I felt like a lot of people, and a lot of queer people too, have this argument that they feel like Lil Nas X is doing too much.
Right.
But I'm just like, this is actually mirroring what your life looks like, except you feel like it only deserves to be done at nightclubs in the dark or with close friends. He's doing it on a stage in front of millions of audiences. And that makes you uncomfortable, because you've been taught so much that you're supposed to keep that gay shit to your gay friends and to your gay social life.
I ain't with that gay shit.
And I love that like he's really like pulling the curtain back, because this is what it looks like at the gay clubs. You know what I mean? This is what it is. And I really hope that, young kids who are, around Tyler's age are watching this and saying, I feel like I sort of align with that brand of gayness. And I'm growing up in my developmental years knowing that it's something to be celebrated. I can do that and be #1 on Billboard. I can do that and still and reach for the stars and grab the stars.
It's so important to have an example of what is possible. An example of the possibilities that exist.
Yeah.
We didn't have that necessarily. And like you said, young Tyler has that. And so that's also another avenue to give, someone in his position hope and courage. And I'm looking forward to what Lil Nas X does next. And I just applaud everything he's doing. It's just so good.
Yeah.
It's so good.
I agree.
Okay. Switching. All right. So segment 3 is about the quest for, quote, normalcy and acceptance among queer people. So we had a few episodes about this, talking about assimilation, different body types, all these things. But like all of our other sections, we're going to start with a game. So because you bitches talk too much, we're going to play a little game.
Talk too much.
You talk too damn much. Where I'm going to say a phrase and you have to describe it for you in one word.
Okay.
So, for instance, if I were to say, describe how your summer would be, it's how your summer has been, but you only get one word.
Okay. That's
All
easy
right.
enough.
So first, describe your sex life in one word.
Hopeful.
Selective.
Passionate.
Yes.
Passion.
I want something passionate.
Why not? What else do you want, baby? Describe your body in one word.
Everything.
Developing.
Struggling. Describe your home in one word.
Abundance.
Cozy.
Chic.
I get that.
Girl, y'all ain't cozy.
It is. We've been decorating.
I'm just like, it's a jail.
My house
We
is
have-
cozy.
No, y'all got a little
My
stuff
place
up
is
now.
cozy.
We got throw pillows now.
It's cozy. We got throw pillows now.
Yeah.
Describe
It means literally cozy.
describe how you think in one word.
Open-minded.
That's 2 words.
What? It's a hyphenated word, is it not?
I think it is hyphenated.
How I think?
Yeah.
Thoroughly.
Quickly. And then describe what you feel you bring to the show in one word.
You know my word.
What?
Authenticity.
Perspective.
Freedom.
Can I have another word?
No.
Vulnerability.
Are we going back as a round robin?
It's popcorn.
It's now a ponderosa.
All right. So thinking about normalcy, so let's start here. Are you still searching for normalcy and acceptance? And how has this changed or not since season 1? Jordan.
Yes. I think that, I'm still very sensitive to rejection. I've always been sensitive to rejection. And I think that the little kid in me makes guest appearances often. And I think that the podcast has revealed to me in that I can say what's on my mind that may be unpopular or I'm doing air quotes incorrect. And the world doesn't stop. And that it's actually not really a bad thing for people to not like me based off of getting to know me better. So I'm sort of leaning into that a little bit. The podcast is actually forcing me to lean into that a little bit.
It's force feeding you.
Basically. So
It's like a tube down the throat.
but yeah, so I'm embracing the idea of naturally and inevitably pissing people off, even when I don't try to. And I'm just allowing that to just sort of happen and roll off my shoulders when I can. It still bothers me, but it's definitely been a growth since, last year when we started the podcast.
Okay.
Tony.
I'm not searching for normalcy or acceptance. Simply stated, I think the podcast has really allowed me to be even more of who I am, and I'm loving that growth. It's a growth vehicle, is what I've been referring to this whole situation as, and I'm really enjoying that. It's so fun to just become who you are, and to really be the full version of yourself, or be going towards the full version of yourself. And I feel like I'm maximizing my contribution to myself through the conversations we have, through how vulnerable I get to be, through how salacious I want to be, whatever it is, you get all sides, and doing it unapologetically and not giving a fuck what anyone thinks, which has always been how I've carried myself. But it's a little different when you're putting something out there for the world to dissect.
Give feedback.
Yeah.
You said, did I ask you? Did I ask you?
So I'm excited by what we have done and what we are doing and what we will continue to do. And yeah, that's, I don't want to cry.
Sure, I'll get the fucking
I'm going to cry later.
Okay.
Laugh now, cry later. Yeah, I don't think I was looking for normalcy and acceptance in season 1, and I feel like I've just become more rebellious as we've gone through this.
True. True.
Because I think the topics are getting more interesting the further we go on this journey, and I feel like every time we do a thing, I'm just like, yeah, fuck that. I don't want to do that. I want to do this my own way.
That's those being the angels. There's the angel and the devil on your shoulders.
It's just two devils.
There's just two devils on Damon's shoulders. Talking about fuck that.
Fuck
Damn, hell yeah.
Like sock it to him. I feel like that.
But yeah,
beat his ass.
Child, sometimes the girls need their ass whooped
True.
verbally.
Oh, okay.
I was gonna say not.
I'm
Like revise that.
I'm gonna get Day Day and them, and Taekwon and whatnot. To go and do.
You know how many
girls
black
need
people
to be-
listen to this podcast? So somebody probably named Taekwon that listens
Of course.
to this. And now you saying he fight.
They fight. Taekwon fights.
A mess.
Now when I call him up, it's gonna be a problem. It's a situation.
Shut up, Jarrell. So again, thinking about our own insecurities and things. So which episode do you think, what episode forced you to explore a part of yourself that you're still working on, you still have a level of acceptance, or even something you just haven't fully explored in relation to yourself? Tony?
This question was hard for me to think about and answer because I'm not perfect, but I also didn't know like what has been revealed to me that I felt I haven't fully accepted or that I still needed to work on. But the more I thought about the question, I thought about our Gaze as Old as Time episode and how that felt like one big gay therapy session between all the generations and people, answering the different topics. But then also I think what was really moving was the message to our 10-year-old selves. And
Yeah, for
it made me think about the therapy that I want to that's the thing for me. I feel like that's going to really take me to the next level is like, how much more about myself can I learn?
Yeah.
And I think I've never done therapy. I'm open to it. I've not been one of those people like, I ain't doing therapy.
I ain't telling people my business.
But it's something that I'm definitely want to do and I'm open to doing. And I just need to take the steps to do. And that's kind of exciting. Like that part of me has been exposed, and I feel like that's an area that I can like take away from this season and hopefully put into action. I'm a procrastinator, so you keep me honest and accountable.
I'm gonna get you together.
Yes.
I think affirmative inaction was probably the episode that was most eye-opening for me. I've always been like very career driven and very ambitious, and I feel like it's all rooted in this idea that I needed to prove to myself and to people around me that I was good enough, and not only good enough but the best. And I felt like that was like what I'm realizing is that it's crippling me from not taking risk or doing things that don't feel super safe. I feel like I try to avoid doing things wrong and then in reality don't do enough as it pertains to like just sort of like really unlocking who Jordan is. And it's not necessarily just like the way I'm projecting my personality, but also just like the ways in which I think, like the ideas that I bring.
Like, who are you really?
And I feel like the episode has really opened my eyes to like really try to balance being so, I guess, calculated on how to climb the ladder, but also being kind to myself along the way, and realizing that if you make a mistake, it's not the end of your career. If you rub somebody wrong, it doesn't mean you're getting fired. I'm a little bit triggered because that's happened to me before, getting fired for not being likable. But yeah, I think that
I'm not likable.
That's what I said. That was a very triggering moment, and it like really affected my self-esteem in the workplace for a very long time after that. And I just was like, oh my goodness, like I'm very hypersensitive to the people who are more senior than me, that are assessing me, that are basically responsible for like whether or not I grow or not.
Yeah.
Like, what do you think? Like, is this right? Is this wrong? Like, are you about to block me? Like, you know what I mean? Like, I go into that moment, so I just sort of overthink things, and I feel like
Jordan lives in a constant state of the Tyra Banks moment when she's like, I have 2 photos.
But yeah,
one stays and one goes, and Jordan's always like, bitch, am I the one that's going? Like, did I do everything right?
Gets to the end of the day, ain't doing no work.
Yeah, oh my God. It's just like a natural anxiety of like not being enough. So I feel like the episode was really eye-opening, and just being like, be kind to yourself. You're smart. You got to where you are because you're smart. And there's a lot more that people can, enjoy from you just being a little bit more relaxed in the workplace. So that's something that was like difficult when we were going through it, and insight came from it, and it's now something that I consciously think about as a goal to work on.
Mm-hmm.
Fantastic.
Skinny Legends Only was an interesting experience for me.
Was it?
Yeah, because I feel like I've always thought about body in the more theoretical point of view, like
very meta.
Very meta.
Yeah, what does that mean?
Like if we're having a conversation about fat phobia and systems that are in place and layers of privilege in society, like we're having a conversation. I understand how those things exist. They don't necessarily affect me personally, so it's very academic. And I think that when we got into the conversation where we were talking about the differentiation between systems that are in place and then the personal relationship you have with your body and how you view yourself when you're just alone in the mirror, I realized that I disliked my body a lot more than I realized, or like I wasn't happy with it. And it was just a thing where like I hadn't thought a lot about it. And then it sent me into a bit of a spiral. And then even just like thinking about like how to change things about it, how to eat better, how to work out. Like, I don't even know how to fucking work out. I've been like trying to learn how to do more things.
Pick some weights up, put it back down.
Pick them up, put them down. But like that was just an overwhelming thing. And it sparked something that I hadn't thought so much about because I'm skinny. Like it's not like outside people are being harsh on me. But I think that when I was thinking more about how I self-reflect, the thoughts that I would have if I saw a picture of myself and so on, it made me think more personally than I think I have before.
Yeah, I'm receiving that because of just being around you and you being hypercritical about how you look. And I know everyone's relationship with their bodies is personal. And so when you say things, I'm giving girl, but
Shut up.
Tony, I hate it.
But I mean, I understand, I understand the concept of seeing something from the outside in and knowing that what I see doesn't necessarily mean that's how that the person feels that way. And it's one of those things that's really nuanced and layered, and so I'm happy to hear you talk about that and get that insight.
Trying to get these old bones together. Switching topics a bit, we've been a lot more open about sexuality on the podcast last season and even more so this season. Do you feel like you're more liberated or experimental in the bedroom, Jordan?
I'm not really having that much sex, so no.
That's your tagline for this Beyond the Surface.
Well, everybody's getting on my
think
nerves.
He's saying that so that after this episode airs, that people are like, you ain't having a lot of sex. You know what? Let me help you out.
No, actually, I don't want it. Like, I feel like I was starting to like entertain, people. And
I was gonna say something much worse. I'm not gonna say it.
I was too. And
I'm not gonna say it.
I'm like, let me be quiet.
But it's just, I don't know. It's just so mentally involved, and everybody gets on my damn nerves. And it's just like, as soon as sex is involved, it just becomes a headache. And I'm just really trying to minimize distractions. So no, I haven't really experimented. I haven't really done anything new. It's been real, it's been real solo in my bed. So
you explored anything new by yourself?
No.
Not that you wish to speak about.
Well, no, nothing that I haven't done before.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That's fun. That's fun.
Tony.
Yeah, I'm sure.
It's fun.
Yeah.
Yeah. Have I been more liberated through being openly talking about sex and stuff on the podcast? No, like not necessarily. I'm
No new tricks?
no.
Meaning like, moves. I wasn't trying to say like a person or anything.
You refer to people as tricks?
Listen, I
Well,
wrote.
some people do.
I wrote the book. No new tricks.
I want to be clear.
There are tricks and there are tricks. There are new tricks.
And tricks are for
But in terms of moves, I think everyone's on a spectrum when it comes to like freak levels, right? And what they are willing to do and not do. And for me, it really could vary. It's the energy for me, like that I get and receive from someone that may allow me to do something that is something I wouldn't do on a day-to-day or just with any old body. So I'm really big on like letting the energy guide me, and I still struggle with being in my head sometimes, but I'm trying to work on that. I don't know how I'm trying to work on that, but
just acknowledging it. It's the first step.
Yeah, so that's how I'm trying.
Just keep fucking.
Identify it.
You'll get over it.
Have sex.
I think in last season's sex episode, I talked about wanting to play around with leather, and I played in my harness a bit.
Oh.
Yeah.
I
need a different
one.
Like hook a chain
wasn't
onto
like-
it and
no, I
like
was not hook- no, I
swing
just-
from the chandelier.
Yes.
You got a swing, bitch?
I got a chandelier and a swing.
Because I got to come over.
Child,
And see, do I need to install one in my domicile?
I do not have a swing. I don't know. Child, you girl.
You said harness, and that's what I thought about was a swing.
And then somehow the girl's got me tied to the ceiling now.
Listen.
Fucking homosexuals. I hate you.
Oh, you meant like harness that goes in your body.
It was on my body.
Not
Like I'm...
not a jetpack.
Yeah. Like I'm on one of those fucking bungee cords dropping me off a building onto the dick.
Oh my god.
Gotta go. We just gonna move on. The fuck is the next question? Oh, so as we talked about age, what are you most looking forward to as we move further into our 30s? I think y'all should get a harness that you should tie to your ceiling as a first step.
Yeah. For me, it's the maturation. Am I saying that right?
I don't know, Joe.
Like maturing.
I know.
Maturation.
Shut
Matrimony.
up.
I'm looking forward to like aging gracefully and successfully and getting collecting my things. I'm really looking forward to that. And I think it's starting to happen. It's always been happening. Like every life stage, you're collecting things, but then all of a sudden it's like a combustion where boom, like everything's happening at once. And I'm excited about that part, like continued growth, continued learning. And with every year that we grow older or better, as Damon says, it's like unlocking that next level. And that excites me. I embrace it. I am, I'm ready. And it's our time. My time, our time. So, yeah.
I think for my 30s, I'm really interested in manifesting the vision that I have for myself. I think that this year I've really made a lot of changes in terms of how I want to go about my time and spending my time. I've, made a lot of investments in just holistic health, eating better, drinking less, getting more sleep, trying to really zero in on being focused and alert most times. And I'm ready to roll up my sleeves and hustle. I have a lot of dreams. I want to achieve them. And I'm sort of focused on doing the work, deprioritizing certain social activities, and because I really want to get to a place where I can help my family become financially free. I want to get to a point in my life where I have the luxury of being able to spend my time away from my office and not at the expense of my lifestyle. And I want to find a partner and start a family. So I think that, my 30s, I feel like I can feel myself just wanting to shift my priorities and just really focus on like laser focus in on like what do I really want and what sacrifices do I have to make to get there.
That's great, because you remember that promise we made that by the age of 33, if neither of us were married, we would just like go ahead. So I'm glad you're so fucking focused. This makes me so happy. I'm excited for our future.
Listen,
And
if
future
y'all have
kids.
they cannot come to the podcast.
You know, it's got to be one person, and it's Jordan for me. Thank you. And then Damon, you know,
Ain't gonna be no
you
kids.
still like,
Daddy.
this is a side thing, but he's like, he's stable. He's like doing his thing. You know what I'm saying?
I'm excited to just use my skills and the things that I've gained to help other people in our communities. I think this podcast is the first iteration of that, trying to use whatever experiences that we've lived, researched, read about, sharing and synthesizing them, and hopefully helping someone who's younger or maybe someone who is our age or older that is trying to figure some shit out. I also think professionally, I'm trying to do more to impact Black business, Black professionals in ways that are kind of connected first to the corporate space that I exist in, but also to some other initiatives that I'm exploring to like use the things that I've gained and the experiences I've had, not just for me and not just to make money or whatever it may be. Like, yeah, that's the girl, cut the check. But hopefully to get to a place where it's just like, we're bringing people along.
Yeah.
And I feel that now is a good time to like really take that not just as an idea, but like put action behind it.
Yeah, that reminds me of something I heard from someone that talked about like living in service of others, and it pays back in like dividends, like tenfold.
Yeah.
So that's dope.
Yeah. And then finally, we've talked a lot on this show about the privilege and the amazing opportunities we've had professionally, living in a place like New York, in some ways, quote, looking the way we do. People view us a certain type of way. But what do we want to do to lift up communities who have experiences that are quite different from ours? We talk about people who don't have as much privilege and live in the way that we do. Any ideas around that, Jordan?
So I'm thinking like long term, like further into my life. I really, really, really want to give back to the youth in the city of Trenton, New Jersey, where I grew up. I really want to get to a point where I can build something, a school, enrichment program, something, because I just feel like where I come from, there's so much unrecognized talent. I have really close friends who, you know, didn't even have the opportunity to attend college because they didn't have a family that had the resources to put them through it, and they made better grades than me. You know what I mean? And I really want to be able to be at a point where I can be the one that creates opportunities for people, big opportunities for people. And I'm really excited for that moment in my life where, you know, I have the resources and I have the connections and I have the access to be able to do it, because we are very privileged. We are very, I hate using the word lucky because sometimes it could be interpreted as a negative, but like, I think that we are very lucky to be in these positions and be in New York City and have our air-conditioned office jobs where you can take mental health days. That's not the reality of a lot of Black people in America. And I think that I'm really excited for the day that I'll be able to sort of take everything that I've learned and everything that I've gained through these experiences and, you know, help people that look like me who came from where I came from.
Yeah, I mean, when you talk about luck, like Oprah Winfrey says, there's no such thing as luck. She talks about preparation meets opportunity. And I think that we've been preparing and doing the work to meet the opportunities that are presented to us. And such as this podcast, this was presented as an opportunity to us by a friend that we took seriously. And here we are a year later with like a thing. Yeah. And I think for me, I want to continue doing this thing because I feel like this can be that vehicle to do a lot of the things that you're talking about.
Yeah.
And anything else that Damon or I want to do. This can be literally the moment.
Right.
And so that is kind of where my head is right now in terms of thinking about how we can impact communities around us. And I also think about mentorship. And I really think I would like to mentor gay youth because I know how important mentorship is, but also being a gay youth, having someone who is gay and as an adult and successful in the world, having that example means so much. It's literally life-changing. So that's something that I would want to consider in the future.
Yeah. I think I talked about the future. I think right now we're using our privilege to pay for this damn podcast.
No shade.
This shit ain't cheap.
No shade.
If somebody is listening and wants to help us do the work for the community,
Because bands will make us dance.
All right, I'm done.
So let's talk about a little bit of like a wrap of the season, closing remarks, final word, final message. Like, who used to do that? Was it Jerry Springer that used to have like my final word?
Child, I don't know.
There was
I wasn't really a Jerry Springer. There were final words. There were words.
Jerry Springer used to have a final word at the end of every.
Right, that's the final word.
So I want to talk about this actually came from a listener as well, this question. And they asked, what was the most challenging part of this season for each of us?
I'll say like this sort of like follows up on the response that I gave a little bit earlier, but it's really been about time management. My professional life has gotten exponentially more busy. The work for the podcast is always a heavy lift, especially when we're in season. I've been working on other projects that I'm excited about as well. And I just think that more like a couple of times through this season, I just felt extremely overwhelmed. Like I was waking up and just like nervous and also tired because I was like overthinking while I was sleeping or not sleeping. Mm-hmm. So I definitely feel like that's been the biggest challenge. I've sort of taken up meditation. I go to Central Park and I like listen to those guided exercises on like prioritizing. It doesn't work for me. They make you breathe too much. I'm like, just give me the tips. I'm like, why are you telling me breathe in for 4, hold for 4?
There you go, overthinking.
That's the biggest part of it. Right.
Just give me the clip notes.
Jordan, you should do this. Why are you telling me to do this?
They want me to breathe. And I don't understand why.
It's a 10-minute meditation thing, and for 8 minutes we're breathing. You need to
Most
tell me.
Most meditation
that's
is
part.
breathing. It's about centering, focusing, not thinking.
That breathing is.
If you're only focusing on
is it called
breathing,
box breathing? I think it's a technique.
But like in for 4, hold for 4, breathe out for 6. And first of
yeah.
all, I'm about to choke every time I do that. Who can breathe out for 6 seconds?
Well,
you can.
Whew, it is a struggle, but I've been trying, and that's been, it helps when I actually can get through it. But yeah, it's been prioritizing and time management for sure.
Yeah, I think similar for me. Like one of the things that I'm constantly working on is time management, and in personal and professional life, there's so much happening, so much going on. And I'm preaching to the choir for us 3, but also anyone listening. Like, the last thing I want to do is complain because there's a lot to be grateful for. But time management is one of those things that I feel I can always be improving on. And it's hard when there are things that you just don't want to fucking do. But you have to do.
Yeah.
And
they don't go away.
That is really tough because you push it to the limit and then you meet your maker one way or another.
Right.
You either arrive, or you
fall on your face.
fall on your face. And sometimes you need to fall on your face. Sometimes
That's
falling on your face
Wake your ass
will
up.
humble your ass.
And be like,
Because sometimes I'm waiting to be like, is someone going to shake me yet? Because I don't feel like I'm on top of my shit, but I'm waiting for someone to, like, it's a weird thing of like, I need to be like told, you ain't shit. You ain't never gonna be shit. So that I can like wake up and be like, oh no, bitch, I am shit and I am somebody. And like sometimes that is needed.
I got you.
So
an accountability coach.
yeah, an accountability coach. So that's really been a challenge.
Yeah.
And so I fully hear what you're saying, Jordan. And I mean, we've gotten this far and we're only gonna get more, things are gonna get busier.
That's what I keep telling myself.
It doesn't slow down.
No, it doesn't.
So, when you you're doing all the things, when we have a small team, we'll have staff, on deck and a payroll and all that type of stuff. I'm gonna be chilling. I'm gonna be right there supporting you while you support me. So
I see what this is about.
I think that the hardest thing I had to do was prep for the Kiss with a Fist episode. I think being open and transparent about the experience of domestic violence was something that made me exceptionally nervous, and that was very different from how I felt going into pretty much any other episode. Typically, I go in and I'm just like, this is my point of view. I'm going to communicate it, and that's the end of it. Versus, I think I said this maybe on our sound off, where I felt this pressure to get it right. And like Jordan said this a lot, like there typically is no right. You just have to go with what your truth is. And I think that was something that, I don't know, in a weird way, it was like I wasn't taking my own advice. Like I was overthinking it and trying to consider how people would receive it versus I had to get to a place where it was just like I had to let the thing be.
yeah.
And that was a very stressful week, going up to it, through it, listening back to it.
Up to it, down to it. Fuck those who don't do it.
But yeah.
It's tough. It's
Yeah.
tough. And it's tough being vulnerable, but there's growth that comes from it. So that's the exciting part when you get through it and you're like, bitch, okay, now what's next? What else can I tackle? And you get the courage from yourself of, going through that whole exercise. So let's talk about what was the most rewarding part of the season.
I really enjoyed talking to Pastor Mike. Yeah, it's just like I grew up in the church for my whole life.
Yeah.
And I said at the end of that episode, I was just like, I don't know what I expected from that episode, but it wasn't that. It was something totally unique to my entire experience with Black churches. And even though like I'm probably still not gonna like run back into a church every Sunday consistently at this point in my life, it was very rewarding to a person who had internalized a lot of hate from my experience in the church.
Yeah. I think the most rewarding part for me was learning that people don't really care. I think that we can all attest that I sort of obsessed over the affirmative inaction episode. I thought that there were certain things that I said that I felt like I didn't communicate exactly how I felt.
Yeah.
And I just had a lot of anxiety around how people were going to react to it. And I mean, when the episode came out, there were people who disagreed. There were people who didn't like what I said and didn't really share the same opinion. But my life didn't end. I didn't.
Did you die?
I did not die.
Okay.
And it was actually quite empowering to have that moment of being like, this was actually like a very nerve-wracking experience for you. And
You did it to yourself.
And I was unscathed, right? If you ever watch Physical on Apple TV, it's a show where this woman, they process her internal thoughts, and she's so hard on herself. Like they play her thoughts as a voiceover.
Yeah.
But like, it's just like no one's worrying about the imperfections or the mistakes or the words you're saying as much as you are.
Absolutely.
So that was really rewarding, and I'm excited to, share what I have to say more often and more openly.
Yeah, I think for me, what's been rewarding, even you guys knowing how I'm set up, is my answer will make sense and align with that, is that the outpour of support, the engagement from people, the love, people saying they see us, that to me is so important. When you have people in the community who are listening, who approach and tell us like, you guys are doing something great, like this is needed. Stuff like that is not that I need affirming, because I don't need affirming from outside in. I can affirm myself, and I won't say that having affirmation or someone else affirm me is not needed. But what is important to me is that people, especially those closest to us, because it'll be the ones closest to you that are the ones that are like talking shit about
like, girl, why
the thing behind your back.
Podcast is boring.
But I think this go round, like the girls and even our closest girls that may have been teetering, tottering, and supporting in silent are like, wow, like you bitches are really doing something, you know, and that to me is like really just moving, and it touches me, and I love engaging with people, having conversation. I love the new people we've gotten to meet. We had a whole picnic, bitch, with like strangers and it felt like family. Like we're building a community. It's happening, and I want to just take a moment to like live in the present and not think about what's next, because what we're doing right now and where we're at is like, I feel like those girls.
She couldn't help herself.
I couldn't help myself.
It's so Tony, though.
So lastly, let's close it out by saying something that we, even more of those girls, like, let's talk about ourselves and give each other a little compliment. Talk about what we admire about one another.
Okay.
Now, am I going to cry?
No.
Okay. I don't know.
The fucking cry.
You know, I'm more sensitive than I've ever been. Like, that's true.
Don't cry to these bright lights. You can be looking ugly on this video. No, I would. My thing is actually a joint thing between you guys.
Okay.
And I appreciate the commitment you all have to building like our little community of people. I think you all know me, and new people scare the shit out of me. And y'all, Tony especially, are definitely just out there doing the thing, talking to people on social, talking to people at the picnic. I think y'all went to the bathroom at one point, and like one of our guests came, was like, "Hey," and I was like, deer headlights. But like he was super sweet, like really, really sweet guy. But that to me it's like you talk about like why we do it as a three, like who's good at what, who excels in certain things, and community outreach and management is the thing that I am least successful with. The girls don't let me out around strangers often, so this is a new thing for me. But I appreciated the commitment that you guys have had to doing it, and I think that I'm slowly inching out of my shell in relation to people that we all know, because Job Podcast is bigger than the people we know now. So
right,
yeah.
So what I admire about Tony is how big of a cheerleader you are. So that's kind of like, you know, following up on that comment, we are those girls. I feel like I really admire and appreciate your optimism. I think that in our conversations throughout our friendship, I've always sort of left feeling like things are going to be okay. And you sort of have this natural, nurturing sort of side to you, and encouraging as well. And I really appreciate that about you. And for Damon, I really admire your commitment to learning. I think that you're always sort of exploring new ideas and new ways of thinking. And I think it's, as we get older and as we mature, I think that it's very easy to sort of just say, like, I got it figured out. This is what I do. I really admire your commitment to always sort of like questioning what you believe and what you think, and if you still feel that way. So yeah.
Take us home, Tommy.
Well,
We are.
what I will say
Those girls.
about Jordan is that, and it's more so this will be about this season specifically, in that I know it was a tough season for you, and I know the conversations we've had while the cameras were rolling, and I know the conversations that we've had while the cameras weren't, and I am happy and excited and hopeful about the change that you're going through for yourself. That makes me really excited. I feel like you're learning a lot about yourself and you're acknowledging certain things that have been difficult. It's not easy. And so that to me is like, as it's tough to sit with yourself and be like, these are my flaws, and you know, have the want to actually like do something about it. So I admire that you're acknowledging what you're going through and what you want to do about it. And that is the type of person that I want to be around, is someone who can say like, yeah, these things about myself are not where I want them to be, and I'm going to do the work to change. I want to be around people like that. Damon is a consummate friend and someone who will always be in your corner, and through whatever he's going through personally, you will never know what Damon is like. He doesn't really wear his heart on his sleeve. And so I get to see those really intimate, vulnerable moments that outside of even what people hear on the show. And it's moved me in a very special way to think about everything that you've endured over the course of like the last year, or a couple years, and you push forward and you get shit done. We are on the way to the studio today. I'm like, Damon, we got to stop at the liquor store. He's like, already, it's in the back. I'm like, bitch, you are an activity queen and a stunt queen all at once.
It's handled.
And I love that. And so I love you guys to death. And on that note, it's a wrap, bitch. We did it. Like, we actually did it. So thanks for hanging with us through this entire season, 15 episodes. It's been a long stretch. But as always, let's keep the conversation going. Let us know your thoughts and questions at surfacelevelpodcast.com. And if you enjoyed this season, please rate, review, and subscribe. We'll be taking a summer break. The girls need time off too. But you can stay updated by following us on Instagram at Surface Level Podcast. And until next time, stay curious.